You didn't say the magic word.
Velociraptor.
Welcome to my channel. I'm really glad that you're here because today we're going to talk about a cinematic genius piece of art, Jurassic Park. Now you might be saying to yourself, Michelle, there are much better movies out there than Jurassic freaking Park. Like I could name 20 movies better than Jurassic Park just off the top of my head, let alone if we actually sat down and made a tier list of all the greatest movies of all time. Jurassic Park probably wouldn't even be on the list. Okay, I get it. Jurassic Park's not on the greatest list, but that does not negate the fact that is a fantastic movie. You know how many movies are out there. You cannot say that because there are so many movies out there that one movie that was amazing can't continue to be amazing even through the test of time. All right, this movie has lasted the test of time. It is still good today. I thoroughly enjoyed it in my rewatch just a couple months ago. And it's a movie from 1993, okay? It's almost 30 years old, and it is still cinematic genius, and I'm going to talk to you guys exactly why that is. But before we do that, please go ahead and like and subscribe, join the channel, and join the journey as we explore the different aspects of Heart of Michi. That is me. I like to explore different topics that are meaningful to me, and today we're going to talk about Jurassic Park. Did I say it enough times? We're going to talk about Jurassic Park because I want to talk about Jurassic Park, okay? All right. So when I watched Jurassic Park a few months ago, I was blown away by the overall cinematography. The very first few frames set up the entire tone of the movie. The first frame is lightning and thunder as these people are struggling to get a dinosaur into the door. We all know what's going to happen in Jurassic Park. Like, even if you haven't seen it, you know there's going to be a T-Rex involved and there's going to be a battle. And when you see a dinosaur that is trying to escape its cage and people are barely able to contain it, you're like, I've got a bad feeling about that. And that's good. That's what you're supposed to feel, right? Immediately after, we see a man in a suit on a raft, like a literal raft, and he's getting pulled into shore by somebody who it looks like they're on an island, okay? It looks like they're in the Amazon or something. And it turns out they're on Costa Rica or an island off Costa Rica. And this guy is an insurance guy and he's trying to figure out if the place is safe. Dun, dun, dun. He's there for the exact reason that we just saw in the last frame. And we're like, okay, something really fishy is going on. What is going on? This place is not safe. How does everyone not know that it's not safe? All right. Maybe you haven't freaked out yet. Maybe you're still just like, what the heck is going on? All I see is lightning and thunder and there's something rumbling in a cage, not being able to hold out. And then we see this guy going onto an island. And then, wouldn't you know, at that exact moment, they're digging up a bug. A bug? A bug. Yes, a bug. A bug wrapped in amber. Amber is the color of your energy. Yeah, they have dug up a prehistoric bug, and wouldn't you know it's a mosquito, and wouldn't you know that mosquito has sucked upon the blood of a dinosaur. But we don't know that yet. But what we do see next, immediately after they have picked up this amber with a bug in it, guess what we see next? We see a man brushing the dust off bones on a dig site. Yes, immediately after we see that amber with a bug, we see a man brushing off the bones of a dinosaur underneath the dirt in the middle of the desert in America. And, you know, it's hard not to make the immediate connection, bug, dinosaur, danger. It's all connected. Pretty quickly, we learn through Ellie, of course, this girl, that Grant doesn't really like kids. And, you know, he doesn't really like modern technology. Immediately after we go from the scene where they are digging up the bone, they walk over and they come to a machine. And this guy's like, ooh, look at this fancy new technology. It's going to show us the bones underneath the dirt. Want to try it out? And then Alan tries to touch it. Alan's the main character. And it goes all on the fritz. Guys, right after they show us the amber, with the little bug in it, and we see the little dinosaur, then we see Alan with a machine that's going to look after dinosaurs, and it's going to be a little touchy, it's going to be a little finicky, okay? Pay attention to that, because immediately after, this little kid's going to be like,
that doesn't look very scary. More like a 6-foot turkey.
Well, wouldn't you know that Alan, the guy who hates kids, just so happens to have an opportunity to explain exactly why velociraptors are scary as hell. Yes, that's right, they are scary as hell, and they can cut you open
with this.
with their front toe. And they can also communicate and hunt as a pack of dinosaurs that have these scary little claws that can split your stomach open. Yeah. Are you guys catching the connection here yet? Dinosaur and a thing that we can't really see, but we can know it's a dinosaur and it's about to escape and the people can't handle it. Immediately after, we find out that there's little bugs in the amber, and those bugs are shown immediately before the bones of a dinosaur, and then a story about how that dinosaur is completely dangerous. Then we meet Hammond.
Really spectacular, spared no expense.
The voice you're now hearing is
John Hammond, spared no expense.
we spared no expense.
Spectacular design, spared no expense.
Now, Hammond is a businessman. Hammond is charming. He's charismatic. He's, a little bit eccentric, and he talks a lot about how he spared no expense. He says it a lot. He says that he spared no expense. And in this meeting with them, he mentions several times about how he owns but actually leases an island, and that, everything's the highest tech and the highest quality and everything's wonderful and I'm going to pay for all this stuff. It all sounds like hot air. But you're like, okay, it's pretty great because from the archaeologist's perspective, they're about to have 2 years worth of their work paid for them. So they're like, yeah, okay, I'll see your theme park. I mean, cool. It's a theme park about dinosaurs. We're just there to make sure that it's historically accurate, right? Okay, we can do that. We'll come check it out. Right after they leave on this helicopter with Hammond immediately. Right after they leave, we see this man on an island, and he's in this Hawaiian t-shirt, and he's eating a lot of food. Now, okay, we can just, for a second, we can talk about the 90s and how people obese were put in these kinds of roles in order to make them extra disgusting, have them being really unable to control themselves with food and be really gross and stuff like that. That's a problem with the 90s, and we can accept that, and we can call that out. That's not okay, the way that they portrayed that. But that doesn't negate the fact of the character, all right? So we're going to talk about the character. Ignore the fact that he's obese, but the way that he's portrayed is portrayed in a way so as to feel like he's kind of gross. And then a guy comes in with a suitcase, and he's all nonchalant,
Gotcha!
hey, come over here, guy with a suitcase. Don't be shy. No one can understand us. We're in Costa Rica. Everyone speaks Spanish. No one speaks English. And then the guy sits down and they start having a conversation, and turns out he's got the Barbasol. You know that thing that we used to clean our desks in elementary school with? Yes, every single one of us, in school, we had to spray Barbasol on our desks and wipe them off. That was a spring cleaning kind of thing we did at the end of the year. Anyway, so it was really cool seeing this can of Barbasol, and then they turned out the bottom of it, and inside were these little holders for vials, and you're like, oh my God, that's so cool.
It's cool to compartmentalize inside, compartmentalize inside, compartmentalize inside.
Okay, so don't get distracted by the tech. It would still be cool today. It still would be cool today, and you know it if you saw that. If you saw a can of Barbasol open up, don't pretend. Okay, it's a little outdated, but still, it was cool for the time, and it was cool for the setting, so it's cool, okay? And even still, it's believable. It's something that you could imagine really exists. Anyway, he's got to put some DNA of dinosaurs in there, and he's going to get a crap ton of money. I almost said shit ton. He's going to get a shit ton of money, all right? And that's if he gets all of them. So he's got a plan, right? He's got a plan, and he's going to get it. And you can tell this guy's a really nasty guy, and you just want bad things for him. As the audience, you want bad things for him.
You didn't say the magic word.
Hold on to that feeling, because that feeling is going to come back. Those clues are so perfect to set the tone and set the mood and get you in the right mindset for what's going to happen in the movie, because it's going to take a little while for this all to pay off, but I assure you every single one of those things is going to pay off. Okay, so right after we meet that guy, then we're in the helicopter with Hammond, Ellie, and Alan, the 3 people from before, and then we meet this 4th person, and this person is Malcolm, and Malcolm is the voice of the author. I like to say he's the voice of the author, but he's the voice of reason. He's the one that comes in and is always negating everything. He has no problem being a cynic. He's like, nope. chaos theory says that this is all going to go wrong. Like everything he says is about this chaos theory, and he's always condescending on everyone. However, he does it in such a way that's so charming and charismatic. Like who doesn't love Jeff Goldblum as Malcolm? Okay, he's attractive in that movie. He's hilarious in that movie, and he plays the like ENTP douchebag, and it's great. Okay, it's great.
I mean, how can we stand in the light of discovery and not act?
Oh, what's so great about Discovery? It's a violent, penetrative act that scars what it explores, what you call discovery. I call the rape of the natural world.
I love ENTPs, okay? So I really love Malcolm's character. All right, can we continue? They're on this helicopter, and Malcolm's like, you know, this is really not a good idea. I'm going to tell you right now, it's bound to fail. Everything's going to get fucked up. He pretty much says that in so many words, but this guy talks a lot, so he says it in a lot of words. And everyone's like, oh, that's kind of weird. And Hammond's like, nah, this guy is always saying stuff like that. He's crazy. Ignore him, blah, blah, blah. And then they get to the island. And wouldn't you know, Hammond's grandchildren are there. And I must pause for a second, because one mistake they had with the adaptation is that they made the sister an older sister instead of a younger sister. And I know why they did it. They did it so that she could be the hacker later on. Oh, spoiler, she's the hacker later on. Anyway, they made her older so that she could be the hacker instead of Timmy, but they didn't change any of her lines, so she's still acting like a 7-year-old, but she's a 13-year-old. Okay, it's dumb. They should have kept her the age she was in the book, which was a child, like an actual child who was annoying, and she was just crying all the time. But who can blame her? Like, she's scared and she's 7, okay? But in the movie, they make her 13, and then they don't change any of her lines, and then they make her a hacker. And it's just like, can you not? So after the kids arrive and we're all introduced, everyone that we've met so far gets in a room together, and I'm including that insurance guy from earlier, the one that's like, I gotta check if this place is safe. Yeah, the one that we literally saw right after the whole like boom terror, there's a monster about to escape scene. Yeah. The same guy. And then we also have Hammond, the rich guy. Then we have Alan, the guy who doesn't like kids. Then we have Ellie, the girlfriend of Alan, kind of girlfriend. They're like weird. Their relationship is weird. They're work partners. It's a weird relationship. That's one of the things that's never really resolved in the movie, but they try to resolve it in movie 2 anyway. And then there's the 2 children. And then they get a tour of the facility. And in this tour, we get an amazing presentation. Like, I remember as a kid, I was blown away by the presentation. Yeah, it hasn't aged that well, but it looks exactly like the sort of like educational material that we in school had at the time, but it was like the state-of-the-art version of it. And so it was really cool, like this little character that's made of DNA, and he's hopping around, and he talks about how these dinosaurs are made from DNA from dinosaurs, and they pulled it from the blood of the bug. And I really, really enjoy that scene. Like, even as an adult, probably because it gives me nostalgia. Is it something that withstood the test of time? I don't know. You guys will have to say if it withstood the test of time. That's a difficult statement to say for some reason. Like, my tongue is getting a little twisted. So then they get to see the eggs hatch, and immediately Malcolm's like, you know what? Nature finds a way. They're gonna procreate. And Hammond's like, no. We did science, and science says there's no way they could be any other gender than female. And Malcolm's like, oh, no, because chaos theory says that nature finds its way, and nature cannot be controlled by science. And Hammond's like, but I paid for the science. And Malcolm's like, it doesn't matter if you paid money. Okay, they didn't actually say that, but that's like kind of the point that gets across. Anyway, after that, then we get to actually go on the tour de la Jurassic Park. And this is where things start to really get interesting. Now, this whole thing has been pretty interesting, right? But then we get to actually see the dinosaurs, right? So we're all in cars, and Alan gets put in a car with the kids. Almost. And then the kids get kicked out, and they end up going with the insurance guy. And then Ellie and Alan and Malcolm are in a car together. And then Malcolm's flirting with Ellie the whole time. And the kids are on this intercom, and they constantly have to hear the kids, even though they're in a different car. So Alan is getting double bamboozled. in the intercom, he's hearing the two kids, which he hates kids, and then in his own car, he's getting his girlfriend flirted with, even though they're not really a girlfriend-boyfriend thing, but he has feelings for her and it's obvious, and it's like really weird what their relationship is. But they work together, okay? They just work together. And then Malcolm does this really cool thing, which I think made us all feel smarter as a viewer, and he's like, give me your hand. All right, I'm gonna drop a drop of water on here. Which direction does it go? And she's like, well, it'll probably go this way. And then he puts a drop and it goes that way. And he's like, oh, well. With chaos theory, it's bound to go a different direction. And then those of us that are watching are like, you're on a car and it's bouncing. Like there's no way you're going to be able to drop the water in the same spot every time. But he still drops the water and he says, see how it goes in a different direction? That's because it's unpredictable. And we're all like, that was kind of unpredictable that it wouldn't go in a different direction. But okay, like I get your point. Like that's cool. It was done better, I think, in the book. But anyway, I still thought it was fun. It made you feel smarter because you felt smarter than Malcolm, who was doing this thing that was like, okay, we get it. You're smart. So are we. Can we move on? Soon after this, we're supposed to pass by the T-Rex cage. And we're like, yes, T-Rexes. I saw it on the poster. There's gonna be a T-Rex. I am so excited for the T-Rex. But there's no T-Rex. There's a lamb, and they're going to sacrifice the lamb or the goat or whatever it is. I think it's a goat, but there's no T-Rex. The T-Rex isn't there. There's no T-Rex. The disappointment abounds, okay? But you're like, all right. I'm a little disappointed that there's no T-Rex, but like, okay, I'll get over it. And then we move on. And you know what we do actually get out of the car for? We get out of the car for Triceratops poop. Okay, we get to see the Triceratops and it's on its side and it's sick and they're talking about these berries or this poison or there's something making this Triceratops sick and we don't really know what's making it sick. And in the movie, I don't think we actually resolve this, but in the book, it does resolve this. I'm trying to remember if it's in the movie, but I don't think it is because I have this distinct feeling of that being a thread that was left unthreaded. But that's okay because most everything else is threaded. I told you, everything gets resolved. I promise, just wait, it'll get resolved. Okay. Ellie splits off from the group because she's, a botanist and she was digging through the poop and she saw things and she's going to like help the Triceratops even though she has absolutely no experience as a vet or any kind of animal care person. But she's going to go because she knows about, rock form ancient plants. It makes sense. Okay, guys, it makes sense. Get over it. Just move on from it. Just let it go. Let it go. So the tour ends and everyone goes back and it starts raining. When's the last time we had rain, guys? Do you remember? Do you remember the last time we had rain? Yeah, it was the very first scene and the dinosaur almost got out. Do you remember that? Okay, remember it now. All right, so it's raining and they're in these cars. These cars, that by the way, drive themselves. There's no driver and they're on a track. So, and all the dinosaurs, they're in these cages that are like electrified that they could easily get out of if they weren't electrified. But they know not to go after the fences because they know it's electrified. Oh, and there was this other scene that we saw where the velociraptors showed that they were really smart and they could hunt as pack animals and they could probably escape. It was pretty clear that they could probably escape, but because of the electric fence, they can't. You remember that from the movie? So it's raining and they're going back home. And wouldn't you know, the power goes out. But ironically, the power's not out because of the rain. The power is out because while all this is going on, in the control room, that guy from earlier, he's actually a programmer and he's actually the only one who knows how to run the computers. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. He's the only one who knows how to run the computers. The other guy there, he's like this middle-aged black man who is Samuel Jackson, by the way. So watch it just on that premise alone. God damn it! Anyway, so this guy, the one that we saw from the beginning with the Barbasol can where he can like screw out the bottom, he actually like pretends to reset the whole system, but in all reality shuts everything down so that he can sneak in, steal the vials, and then escape while everyone's, trying to figure out why everything went down. Yeah, I mean, he steals a bunch of DNA and then he tries to get away. And the power's out. So then we flash back to everyone else, and they are both in these two cars, and it's just raining and it's dark, and they're just sitting there. They're kind of bored, and then the kid, the boy, he ends up finding these like night vision goggles, and he's just playing around. And we're like, all right, everyone's stuck, so I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Like the power might go out at any. The power is out. We know the power's out. Where are they? Well. Yes, we get to see the T-Rex, and oh my god, is it freaking terrifying. It is huge. It is as tall as a building. Oh my god. And it just knocks down the fence in like one move. And then it's like, as it's walking, the water is shaking, and everyone looks around, and then it starts eating people, and it eats the insurance guy, which, all right, Michael Crichton, I get it. You don't like insurance people, but do they have to be eaten alive off the toilet? Like off the toilet? That's like utter humiliation. Utter humiliation. I know what your true feelings are, Michael, who has passed away. Rest in peace, Michael. Yeah, so then there's this epic battle between the kids and the adults and the T-Rex, and it's really scary, but like all of a sudden, instead of where they were, they're like over an edge, which I thought was really weird. Like they're over an edge. And they fall off after the T-Rex it fails to kill them, because obviously like the movie has to happen. And they fall down and they land in trees, and then they have to get out of the tree because the car is falling, and then they have to run. And then they end up finding the Brachiosaurus. Oh my god. Or there's something else. They actually might be a different one. But they're so beautiful. And it's this beautiful scene with like the sunrise and these Brachiosaurus with all their heads coming out over, or the long neck, whatever. Their heads coming out over the trees. And it's just so beautiful, and you want to think like how beautiful it would be to like have these creatures alive again. And there is a sort of hopefulness that I think you're supposed to feel in that moment, because Alan, the character who's stuck with these two kids, by the way, alone with the two kids, he has been searching for dinosaurs his entire life, and here they are in front of him, and they are beautiful. But wouldn't you know, they're sick too, and one of them sneezes on the little girl who is actually 13 but should have been 7.
God bless you!
That scene is hilarious, by the way. She's just covered in slime. You guys might not know, but in the 90s, slime was the bee's knees. Like now they have all these like small slimes that you just like make yourself. But in the 90s, people were getting drenched in slime. It was like so common to see these slime things on Nickelodeon. Anyway, she's covered in the snot slime, and it's hilarious. Well, then things start picking up tension, and from here it really turns into an action movie where everyone's trying to get back, and they have to save Malcolm, who got bit by the T-Rex, and so he's about to die, and the car's getting chased by a T-Rex, which is pretty freaking epic. And then they have to turn back the power, and the kids and Alan are trying to cross an electrified fence, but it's not electrified because the power is off, and Ellie's trying to switch on the power, and then there's like this freaking velociraptor are trying to get after her, and they're trying to climb the fence, and she turns on the power while the little kid is still on the fence. Yes, Timmy, the boy, he was still on the fence, and then he falls off and he was electrocuted, and you're like, oh my god, is everyone okay? But in the nick of time, Ellie escapes because she like pushes the gate onto the velociraptor, and she runs like hell up into the main building, and Alan and the kids, they run like hell into the main building, and everyone's in the main building, and they finally converge, and they end up in the control room, and then it's closed and it's locked, and there's a velociraptor out the window, and the kids, they're trying to get onto the computer, and they're trying to get into the security system to turn everything back on because the power's on, but the security's not on, and there's no power to anything. I mean, like none of the locks are turned on because all the locks have to be turned on by the computer, and somehow this girl is a good enough hacker that she can navigate the computer and she can turn on the locks. But there's a velociraptor right outside the door, and the velociraptor opens the door, and then they have to run away, and there's this like amazing, like beautiful scene. Like this scene is perfect. It's like perfect cinematography. There's a velociraptor with green DNA like scrolling across its face as it's trying to sniff for them when they're in the ceiling. Oh my god, that's such a beautifully shot. Like that is so poetic. It's poetic, okay? And this is where the epicness comes. This is where the final battle happens, right after everything. And yes, it's changed a little bit from the book, but I think for the cinematography of it all, it was fantastic. They end up on this floating dinosaur body. It's a T-Rex, wouldn't you know? And they're on top of these bones of the T-Rex, and they're floating around. Everyone's gotten separated, and the velociraptors are still attacking them. The velociraptors are like hopping from the bones, and they're like hanging onto the bones for dear life. And then bam! Through the side wall, a T-Rex comes in and it starts killing the velociraptors. Yes, the same T-Rex that tried to kill them earlier, now it's killing the velociraptors, and they're going to be saved. Yes! And they somehow, by the nick of time, they escape and they get off the island and they sail off into the sunset. Yeah, they literally sail off into the sunset, but it's the 90s, okay? It wouldn't be a 90s movie if they didn't sail off into the sunset. Like, can you name a 90s movie, a 90s action-adventure movie where the heroes didn't sail off into the sunset? No, exactly. And you might be thinking, Michelle, what about that guy? What about the guy who tried to steal the DNA? Where's he at? Well, while all this is happening, we get the greatest, most satisfying moment, and I feel bad because this is vindictive, this is bad, but there's a little bit of like this like moral superiority you feel when it happens. Well, this guy, the fat guy, the one who stole the DNA and was going to blackmail his company because they weren't paying him enough to do his job, and he was doing a terrible job. Anyway, his car runs into something because he can't see, and then he ends up in this like cage with these dinosaur that spit poison onto his face, and then they spit poison onto his face and he ends up dying. Yeah, they actually did kill him off. In the book, it's a little bit more brutal. They actually kill off all the people that you're not supposed to like. They even kill off Hammond in the book, but they don't kill off Hammond in the movie. Hammond is going to be alive because there's sequels to the movie. But the movie is freaking fantastic. It's a solid ride of excitement and jamboree the whole time. And there's even one more element which in the book they add, and it just makes it so good. There's like all the while that all that's happening, like after the T-Rex scene, they find out that there are velociraptors on a boat that's heading over the island into Costa Rica. So there's about to be a bunch of velociraptors loose on Costa Rica. And that was a really cool plot thread because part of it was they had to like call and stop the boat from arriving, and it was fantastic. This movie is fantastic. The book is even better because the book makes you feel so smart while you're reading it because the way he describes the science is just phenomenal. But I wanted to just rave about how amazing this movie was because it is such a thrill ride, and it still is amazing 30 years later. And if you're not convinced, watch it now, and don't watch Jurassic Park 2. It's just don't watch it, please. And don't watch 3. 3 is the worst. I might want to talk about 2 and 3 because they are so bad, especially 3. And I don't want to talk about Jurassic World. We can talk about Jurassic World, but I don't really want to talk about Jurassic World. But with that, I have raved enough about Jurassic Park, and I'm glad that you joined me on this journey of me raving about how amazing it is and how perfectly this movie is put together and how all the plot threads that are brought up in the beginning, they pay off in the end, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic, and you should like and subscribe before you leave because you know that I'm fantastic too. And if you wish to support me in my fantasticness, go ahead and check out my Patreon link. And if you want some life coaching or MBTI coaching or just want to work on some character development for your book, go ahead and head on to my Snug. And if you just want to hang out with a bunch of other nerds, go ahead and check out the Discord server in the links below. And with that, I hope that you have a beautiful, amazing, fantastic day. Bye!